KFSR at Cmac present the Central Valley Ledger, a public affairs program featuring stories from all over the Central Valley with Sevag Tateosian, 90.7 KFSR.
I'm your host, Sevag Tateosian. Welcome to the Central Valley Ledger. We're here in the beautiful Cmac Studios in downtown Fresno, and our guest this week is Roshell Franklin. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much. Glad to be here.
Well, and for you, this studio is nothing new because you and your husband, Don, are members of Cmac.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
Well, we've been with Cmac for about 2 years now, almost 3, I believe. And we started in radio some years ago together. We were very young. I was only 17 at the time. Don was about 20, somewhere in there. So we were both very young. And we did on radio what we pretty much do now on TV, except playing music. We don't do that part. However, we still do the celebrity interviews and the community focus and things like that. So we kind of transitioned from radio to TV.
I wanted you on the show because, one of the first shows I watched was the Franky Ro Show, which we'll talk about. But you and Don have taken programs from the bottom and you've kind of built them up, and I want you to share that with our audience. So when did you decide you wanted to become a member of Cmac?
When I first, I was watching television one night, and I believe it was from another local station that was highlighting Cmac and what they were about to do and what they were about to open up for the community. And I told my husband, I think this is something we've been waiting for. We had been with another station here in Fresno. However, it just wasn't working out the way we wanted it to. So when I seen Cmac, I said, you got to get down there and go see what it's all about. So he finally came after I kept nudging him to go. Typical man. And, things just took off from there. He started with the classes, and then he got to meet Jerry and Brian, and then he walked into the studio and his mind was blown. His wheels were turning, and the rest is history.
It's funny you say that you had to nudge him, because I see him and he's running around. He's doing all kinds of stuff in the studio.
Yeah.
But, let's talk about Franky Ro. When did you decide that this is the program you wanted to bring and start in Fresno?
It's always been a dream of ours to create our own program that focused on celebrity interviews and community outreach, just showing what people do here in the community. We felt that there wasn't enough spotlight on that, especially when it comes to the community aspect of it. The celebrity aspect of it, you can see that all day long on social media or YouTube or things like that. So we decided early on, this is what we want to do. So let's figure out a planet, set a goal, and just go for it. And that's pretty much what we did.
Are you finding that talking to celebrities or getting interviews is challenging? Because we may have listeners now that are thinking, you know what, this is exactly what I want to do. Or we might have listeners that are listening and saying, you know what, I have a vision that I want to accomplish. How hard has it been for you to line up guests for the program?
Starting off, it was a bit difficult because you're so new. People want to see longevity, and they want to see that you're taking things seriously and consistency. So in the beginning, it was a bit difficult. People wanted to know more about who we were. Where are you based out of? Well, Fresno is really small. Is there a market for what I'm doing for you guys to even showcase? But in the beginning, it was a bit difficult. Now we get calls every week. Can you interview this person? Can you interview that person? So it's a process. But if you stay consistent and you build, continue to network, make friends, just connect with different people, use social media. That's one of the biggest keys. And make sure you're presentable and just keep going.
You and Don have busy lives.
Yep.
Ironically, I saw you at a grocery store one day. You were running in and running out. You have a family. You all are busy. Has this added level of stress, or is it like a hobby? How do you define or describe to people your experience with the show?
Yes, it adds stress. With 5 children and a husband that is so driven, it adds a lot of stress for me personally. I have to find balance, between family and television and my married life, time for myself, time for my family. My sister and I are very close, so I try to find time to, hang out with her as well. And it does become very stressful at times. And what we do is what we love. It's a passion of ours, so it's not a hobby, but it's something we love, and it's something that we want to see continuously grow here in Fresno and everywhere. Everywhere that we can reach and change and be effective is our main goal. So at the end of the day, it's stressful. And a lot of times I try to get Don to slow down, but he's just, I deal with it. So, at the end of the day, it's well worth it. I love it. It's something that I would like to maybe see my kids get more off into. Technology, that's the way. So.
And you mentioned your kids. I'm glad you went there because I'm going to ask you a question. So as you're involved in production, where are your kids in this? Do you bring them with you? And because the reason I say that is because we were in the studio last week and I brought my 21-month-old while we were setting up and stuff. So for you, do you bring your kids with you? Do they participate in what you're involved in?
They do. A lot of times we bring them here. My 4-year-old is, she runs the house. So when she gets here, it's like, what do I do now? So we do bring them with us. It seems like everywhere we go, I have a baby on, because I have a baby that's about to be 1 in 2 weeks. So I have a baby over here. I have my 4-year-old over here. But yeah, we bring them with us. And when I don't bring them, my sister has them. So, but it's challenging, but we make it work.
How important is managing schedules and stuff for what you're doing and being organized? Because I imagine with your family life, your show, and we'll talk about a different project that you're working on. How important is it to be organized and make sure that you're all on the same page?
It's very important. Without organization, we don't function very well. Don has a calendar, I have a calendar, so we have to go day by day off of each other's calendars just to make sure that we are prioritizing and making sure that what is happening is the best for our family and for us. So, gosh, without my calendar and without being prioritized, my day is completely messed up.
Let's go back to talk about Franky and Ro, the show. Your first time you were on air, what were you thinking?
The very first time we were on air with Cmac, or
on
just
television,
period?
yeah.
Oh gosh. The very first time we were on television was scary. And I say that because Don went over his everything so much, made sure all his everything was in a row. His ducks were in a row. And when the show finally hit the air, it looked nothing like we thought it was going to look. The production was horrible. There were words at the bottom of the screen that were cut off. My head was cut off. So we were both panicking, and there was nothing we could do. We couldn't call the station and say, hey, stop the tape or put on a different show. Our first television experience was pretty bad.
At that point, you can say, I'm going to stop doing this. I've got way too much going on. I could care less. Or you say, I'm going to keep going. Obviously, we're here.
Right.
You decided we'll keep on going. Why?
Because we knew what we were doing was effective and that it had the possibility to motivate someone else to start their own show that could, motivate other people in their community or their city or their neighborhood. So we knew we had a gold mine. We just had to figure out how to present it and how to keep going and what we did wrong and how to fix it.
How do you plan for each show? I mean, are you the type of person to book guests a month in advance, or are you seeing what's trending and then finding your guests based on that?
There are times we try to look at what's trending and try to schedule our guest according to that. However, when a big news story breaks, our phones light up. Our email box is lighting up. Can you get this person on the line real quick? Can you talk to them really quick? So yeah, we usually try to go by what's trending, but it doesn't happen that way all the time. So we are the type of people who like to book guests weeks in advance. So we know what's coming, we know what our schedule looks like, we know what we need to promote, and we just take it from there. But we are those type of people.
Your favorite interview on the Franky and Ro Show, who was it and why? And this is going to be a difficult one because you've interviewed some pretty impressive people and you have fun with it. I could tell you have fun with it.
Right. That's kind of hard to put my finger on. My favorite guest, my goodness, probably, oh man, we've had, like you said, we've had lots of people. However, there is a particular guest. He is a rapper, actor. His name is David Banner. He's been in many movies, and right now he's currently touring on the East Coast. So he's touring a lot of high schools to talk to children about education. And most of the time I've been the one to interview David, and when we talk with one another, it's just like a very casual conversation. It doesn't feel like an interview at all because he's really trying to send a positive message out there. And he's really, he's really trying to reach people that are watching because he's very passionate about what he believes in, which is education. So I think David Banner is one of my favorite interviews because he's so real. He's so down to earth. And if he were here right now, you wouldn't know this guy was a big time celebrity because he just carries himself in that manner. He's just like, I'm like you, I'm like you. We're all human. We're individuals. So that's one of my favorite interviews.
For people who are not familiar with the Franky and Ro Show, how do you describe it briefly? What is it about and what message are you trying to get by?
The Franky and Ro Show is a mixture of celebrity news, entertainment, and community focus. It also focuses on family, love, life, all mixed in one.
There are audience members listening to our program now on KFSR 90.7, and they're watching on Comcast 93 and AT&T 99. Mm-hmm. People who are not involved in video or radio production, if they get involved in that, can they build certain skills? I mean, what would you say you've learned from radio and TV?
Communication. One of the biggest things that I've learned with radio and television, they're two different entities. However, that's one of the biggest lessons that I've taken away from each one is communication. You have people that are listening to you on the radio and they want to feel like you are talking directly to them. So being able to communicate that through the airwaves and have people calling in and, spilling their whole life story to you over a song you just played says a lot. And it's the same with TV. You can connect with someone through TV just by, your conversation or the things you say. I have people talking to me. They come up to me all the time and say, I really love that necklace you had on, or I love your nails, or I love your hair. And it's just really easy to connect with people if you keep that line of communication open.
There are high school kids, children now, who want to get involved in radio and television. Mm-hmm. Some parents may think there's no future in that, don't do that, go become a lawyer or a doctor. And I laugh because when I was younger, my parents used to say, lawyers and doctors make all the money and everyone else don't. Well, as I grew up, I realized, there is different professions out there mm-hmm. that do pretty well. So what advice would you give the parents whose children say, Mommy, Daddy, I want to get involved in radio or television?
I say let them explore the world of radio and television. We didn't always do what our parents wanted us to do, mm-hmm. and we turned out just fine. Mm-hmm. So I think they need to keep that door of opportunity open, especially if it presents itself. Leave that door open and let them venture into that world of radio and television because it is a great world to be a part of. Like I said, I went into to radio at the age of 17, and it was one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life, just one of them.
You and I have something in common because I was 17 when I went on radio at KFSR, and I would have answered the question exactly the way you answered for various reasons. It was one of the best decisions that I made. So I'm learning about you more and more as time goes.
Right.
Let's shift gears and talk about this cartoon.
Okay.
And it's a very popular cartoon because, as I understand it, you just hit 1 million views or something like that.
We did. Gosh, it was over the Black History Month was a big month for us. And last year, it was a pretty big month, but not as big as this year. We hit like 2 million views on YouTube.
And I love the way you say that. Oh, we hit 2 million views on YouTube. But 2 million views are 2 million views.
Right.
There's a lot of zeros after that.
There is. And, you know, it's been very surreal for us by the messages that come in, the comments from mothers who homeschool their kids and teachers who send us pictures of them showing our cartoon in their classrooms. It's something we never imagined. We just wanted to create an educational cartoon to show people, like, hey, education is still cool, reading is still cool, math is still cool. But we never imagined that it would get to where it is. I never, I told my husband, let's just do this. Let's call it this and just put it out there. And my husband always says, sometimes you just got to take it and throw it against the wall and see if it sticks. And it sticks.
And I'm talking about Fresburg.
Right.
Tell our audience what Fresburg is.
Fresburg Cartoon is an educational program that is designed to teach kids of all races and of all backgrounds that education is the way. There is nothing wrong with being smart and brilliant and bright in school. And it also teaches against bullying and how to stand up for yourself and how to stand up for your peers and how to treat others with respect. Because today's world will tell you something completely different. But it does that. Fresburg Cartoon is something we've been working on for about 2.5 years now. And it started off really slow, but we just kept at it. We kept going, we kept building, we kept creating. And today it's proven to be really successful. So we're just going to keep on going.
So are these 15-minute, 20-minute cartoons? How long are the cartoons and what happens in the cartoons?
Well, we have some that are full episodes, some probably as long as 5 minutes, and then we have some as short as 60 seconds. The ones that are about 60 seconds are more teaching tutorials. So they will highlight stories on George Washington, Mary McLeod Bethune, Rosa Parks, Barack Obama. We're just trying to send a message out there that education is still great. The country we live in is still great. And there are people in this world who have paved the way for all of us. And the longer cartoons are actually full episodes. So the full episodes focus more on stories about bullying, why this girl was bullied in school, or why this boy had to go through what he went through in school. And it just shows the outcome and how to deal with it and how kids can deal with it in school and how teachers can help them get through it.
So when you're doing a TV show like we're doing here, we set up the cameras, set up the set, sit in the set and talk. Cartoons are much different.
Right.
Who do you draw them or talk about the process for the cartoons?
The cartoons are drawn. They're hand drawn. Don, my husband, draws majority of the cartoons. And I do probably, 5 or 6 voices for 5 or 6 characters of the cartoons. And my 2 oldest daughters, they are also voices for the cartoons. So it's a lot of time. Once Don, there's like 1 million pieces of paper around my house with different drawings. So if one drawing doesn't work, that's just like, next, But he kind of takes all of the drawings that he doesn't like and the ones that he does like and kind of just compiles them together and comes up with these characters.
Is it done on the computer mostly, or is he's just handwriting and flipping through the cartoons?
He hand draws the cartoons, and then he has a little drawing pad that he uses. His drawing pad connects right into his laptop, so he's able to draw on the pad, and it transitions into his laptop.
So when do you have time to work on the cartoons? I imagine you stay up late doing these, or do you? When?
Oh, I don't stay up late. No. Don does. He is a workaholic. He will stay up 2, 3 in the morning just to make sure that once he completes cartoons that, you know, the look is right, the sound is right. He critiques everything to a fine T. So when I do the voices, I try to do that early in the evening.
Your favorite comment you received from somebody watching Fresburg, what was it, and why was it? Why is it your favorite comment? I imagine you get some touching ones.
We do. My favorite comment came from a kid who was being bullied. She said she didn't know how to handle it, and it made me so emotional because I have daughters. And she goes, I didn't know how to handle being bullied until I watched your cartoon. Thank you. This really helped me because I was bullied for months at school. She said she was an overweight kid, and kids just kept teasing her every single day. And she watched our cartoon. Apparently someone showed her a different cartoon that we created, and she just kept watching different episodes and came across the bullying one, and she sent us a very sweet message on it. So that's what keeps us going.
And you're going exactly where I was going to go. For the hours and hours that you put in doing what you do, didn't that one comment balance it out?
It did. You have no idea how many hateful messages we get on Fresburg every single day.
Hateful?
Hateful. Racial slurs, you know, talking about the characters, races.
So they're making racial slurs off the characters you choose.
Right.
Interesting.
It is. It's very interesting. You know, some of the most hateful comments that I've ever seen. And when we get those we can get hateful comments all day, and then we'll get that one or that two, and we're like, this is why. You know, people are going to be people at the end of the day. And there are a lot of people in the world that don't like to see positivity, but that's just something they'll have to deal with, and we'll still keep doing it.
Tell our audience members about yourself, you and Don and your family. So were you all originally from Fresno, or tell us the background?
I met Don in '96. I was 16. I was still in high school, and 3 years later, we got married.
Oh.
And years later, we started having kids. Now we have 5 of them. But, you know, we were both born and raised here in Fresno. And Don when I met Don, he was in radio. And then he kind of coached me, showed me the way, and then I got into radio as well. So together, we've made what we have now. And we'll celebrate 17 years of marriage next month.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And yeah, here we are. We just love life and our family.
What's next? I mean, you've got the TV show, you've got a cartoon. I mean, just building on those, or is there something in mind for the future?
We are building on those. We are focusing more on the growth of Fresburg and Franky and Ro. And we have other ventures that we are, you know, seeking and doing together, but we do have more things that are coming.
The workaholics never stop, and that's
No.
why I asked that question, because every time, all the workaholics I know, when they create something, they build on it, and then
Yep.
they create something else. So they've
Yep.
got like 5, 6 things going at once. So that's why I asked you that question. Let's go back and talk about where people can find out more information about Franky and Ro in Fresburg.
Well, Franky and Ro, we do have a website. It's just frankyroshow.com. We're on Twitter at Franky Ro Show. Fresburg, we are on Twitter at Fresburg Cartoon, and we're also on Facebook, Fresburg Cartoon, and our fan page is also, our Franky Ro fan page is also on Facebook. So we're pretty easy to find.
You recently you filmed recently a rally with Hillary Clinton, who's running for president. Tell us about that experience. I mean, how did she sound without saying, vote for her or vote for Donald Trump, whoever. And the reason I ask you is because when there's somebody at that caliber in town, they're so polished in how they speak. Tell us about that.
Hillary Clinton was well-spoken. She walked in very nonchalant. It was like, oh, there she is. She didn't come out like this Miss America queen or anything. She had on a really nice, like a hunter green ensemble. She looked very nice, very presentative. She just walked out of her big curtain, came on stage, and one of the locals here introduced her, and she just started speaking right away. It was very exciting to be there. I was so taken back because I was able to be there, a part of history. No matter if she wins or not, I was still a part of history.
And that's exactly why I asked you the question, because whether you're a Clinton fan or a Trump fan, just being there, even a Bernie Sanders fan, just being there in the audience and listening, whether you support them or not, you're a part of history.
Right.
And that has its own feeling.
It does. It was exciting. There was so much energy in the room. There were young people there, older people there with their little ones, to see, what's going on, and that she could possibly be the first woman president of the United States. It was amazing.
Yeah.
I was so glad to be there.
Roshell, we're out of time this week on the program. Thank you for coming on and educating our audience about, the programs you do, but more importantly, the fact that you took an idea, you put it to work, and you and Dawn are running with it. Congratulations and good luck in whatever you decide.
Thank you so much.
That's all for this edition of the Central Valley Ledger. Our guest this week has been Roshell Franklin. She's a part of the Franky Ro Show as well as the Fresburg Cartoon. Thank you to our volunteers that make this production and every production possible. We can't do the show without you. Thank you to our audience members listening to us on KFSR 90.7 FM and to those watching on Comcast 93 and AT&T 99, the Cmac channels. We're in the beautiful downtown Fresno studios of the Community Media Access Collaborative Fresno, Clovis. Hope you enjoyed the show this week. Tune in next week to a new edition.
KFSR and CMAC present the Central Valley Ledger every Sunday morning at 11:30. For a complete program schedule, visit kfsr.org.